Good morning. It is August 19th, 2019, and it's time for another Monday News Brief. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Monday News Brief, brought to you by CDTTV, a part of the Central Dakota Times. I'm your host again, Nate Iverson, and welcome back. This week, it's the first day of school. We have Chamberlain Superintendent Dr. Deb Johnson coming on the show to give us an update on the back-to-school activities, as well as Angela Kenneke's presentation at the open house tonight. Following the introductions to the first week of school, we're visited by another Chamberlain High School alumni, Trisha Burke. She's going to give us a little bit of information about herself, what she does now, her journey after high school, and what led her back to Chamberlain. And as always, if you want to see these stories, other news, events, updates, and more, you can always pick up your own copy of the Central Dakota Times every Wednesday morning wherever newspapers are sold in Central South Dakota. Let's get to the interviews. Cool. So, first day of school is coming up. How you feeling?
Yes, good. I know we'll be ready.
Yeah.
We have to be. Yeah.
And the weather finally cooperated, so everything's good, and for the most part, things are smooth.
Oh, yes.
So, cool. And this will be the 19th, so this is going to be on Monday.
Okay.
And the school board meeting will be tonight as well as the open house, correct?
We already had a school board meeting last week, so the open house is tonight.
Okay, gotcha.
On the 19th from 5 to 7 p.m.
Okay.
And then Angela Kenneke is speaking after that at 7:30.
Awesome.
Yes.
So I know this is a little bit out of order, but maybe this is just a good place to start and get Angela Kenneke's information out first, if you don't mind.
Sure. We connected with Angela last spring to see if she could come to our school to talk about a mother's perspective on losing a child, and of course hers is to the opioid epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been to many communities and schools, and we were able to have her, or contract with her to come on the 19th. So we're really looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
We know that she has an important message for all of us, and we wanted to have it at the high school to really encourage the high school students and their parents to come, but also to put it in an environment where it's not so large. So if we went to the Armory, it would be such a big place. We think it'll be a better place to have it.
Okay.
And a nicer setting for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So she'll be doing her presentation in the multi-purpose room at the high school, correct?
Right.
And then the open house starts at 5?
5, yep, from 5 to 7.
Okay, awesome. And then what can people expect at the open house before the presentation?
Well, what they can expect is to go into classrooms, take their school supplies, meet the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have someone there from the school lunch program and also from the busing program. So there'll be people around to answer questions too. So people are on their own. Most people don't come for 2 hours. They come for about 20 minutes to a half an hour to see what they would like to see about what's going on in the schools.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of lunch, do they still have the awesome mozzarella sticks? I know this is totally a by the way
I
thing,
think they do, but I think they're called John Bosco sticks or
yeah, it's
something
the
like
Bosco
that.
sticks.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, those are still a legend on the internet
Okay.
from kids my age.
All right. Well, they're
So they're delicious.
Have them, yeah.
So just I thought that'd be interesting. Anyway, let's get to the meat of the interview. Let's start with just the preschool update. I know the Believable Center was purchased by Rochelle Hopkins in town, so there will be a preschool.
Yes.
I don't know much about Treehouse yet. I haven't looked into that a whole lot.
Well, Treehouse is no longer there.
Okay.
So what parents have done then is kind of gone to the center that Rochelle has. Yes.
The Believable Center?
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
Believable Center.
Yeah.
Sure. So you did mention though in the last meeting that you wanted to check up still on a preschool that was headed up by the district.
Yes. So
Can you kind of explain a little bit more on how that's been going?
well, what we're going to do is we haven't put it together yet. We'll start the work group in September once school gets started, and we'll contact parents who may be interested or other community members who want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just put together information so that the district knows what it would mean in terms of cost, staffing, all of that kind of thing, for if there was in the future a possibility of doing that. By having this work group does not mean that the school district is going to have a preschool,
Sure.
but it certainly does some of the background work for it.
Right. So it's kind of like a research project before
Yes.
any serious discussion comes into
So we don't
consideration.
have to get into a situation where we were this year where all of a sudden there's not a preschool and what is everybody going to do?
Right.
So at least the school will be prepared.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel then that that's just a good thing to pursue just to be
Yep.
safe. more or
Well, and
less.
it's part of what we need to do for the education of early childhood.
Sure. Okay. And then just moving down the list of the agenda, I know there were some board assignments.
Yes.
And one of those on there that wasn't filled was the bullying, I don't want to say task force, I just want to say, is it bullying assignment?
Bully prevention
Yeah,
task
okay.
force. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and the board has about, I think it's 16 or 17 different groups that meet at different times.
Mm-hmm.
The difficult one with the bully prevention is that it's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And a lot of time that conflicts with board members' job responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing about that group is that we do have a parent who's on there for the advisory part. We have the police officer, and we're looking into possibly having a high school student on it too. So there are enough eyes on it outside the actual school work group people that are on it. So with that one, and I can always give updates to the board and give them our minutes, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll still be in, they'll know what's going on, but they may not actually be at the meeting. It's a difficult time.
So just because there isn't a board member in that, task force doesn't necessarily mean that it's not being operated or being managed.
No,
right.
we meet every other month. We meet,
Okay.
we have minutes, agendas. Oh yes, we are, that's one of our very important groups that meets during the school year.
Sure. And some of these vacancies, is that kind of a common thing when you start shuffling around things for the year and
once
getting
in a
things
while,
organized?
Yeah, once in a while we'll have one, but usually they're all filled.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing's on fire, so to speak.
Heavens no.
Okay.
That's good. We're fine.
Good to know. And then again, just continuing on, so contracts and hiring, how's the position filling going?
Well, it's going very well, except for our vocal music, and we're still putting that together.
Okay.
But like I said at the board meeting last night, what we want people to know is that we are going to have the vocal program.
Sure.
We're just trying to figure out the details. Now, Lachelle Olivier is taking the show choir, and she is also doing state, the choir that meets in the fall. That's the state group. I always forget the name of it. It's not honors choir, but all state.
Oh, the all-state choir. Yeah.
all-state
Okay.
choir. So she has stepped up, offered to do those for all the kids in the district. So we certainly appreciate that.
Awesome. So the extracurriculars still continue.
Yes.
So speaking of staffing, and I know this is just the one issue that Chamberlain is facing, is just getting a vocal teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But I was reading into the education board, kind of the federal level, the education entity, and then South Dakota had the Blue Ribbon Task Force.
Right.
They did say, and this was in the 2014-2015 school year, that in 5 years, and this was back in that era, that there would be staffing issues, especially in rural communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Chamberlain's probably more of a medium-sized, but are you starting to kind of see that effect take hold? I mean, that seems like a pretty accurate statement. 5 years ago, now you're actually seeing this kind of become a problem.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we experienced that this year, especially in our music and also in our special ed. Trying to recruit some teachers for that. We don't get near the applicants anymore that we used to. It just isn't that way. There are a lot of, when we go to the job fairs, a lot of younger people want to go to a bigger community.
Right.
Where there's more going on, whether it be Mitchell, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, Huron, some of those that are not maybe what you would say that much bigger than Chamberlain, but we definitely are a rural community, and we are experiencing shortages in teachers.
Really?
Yes.
So have you had any discussions about how to maybe start to alleviate that or look into some solutions?
Well, the state's really done a nice job of alternative certification. I mean, there are a lot of different avenues people can go, and I think some of the things that we need to do here in Chamberlain is always be positive about what's happening in our schools, make sure that people know what a great job our teachers and our staff are doing, let people know why you would want to be a teacher or come into the school to work.
Sure.
Those kinds of things are the things that we can do, and allow people to be substitutes, whatever we can do to fill that void of what's going on at the school. I don't know anything about the school. Well, let people know this is where we are, this is what we do, and it's a great place to be. So those are the things I think we can do here.
Now talking about, I know this is kind of maybe some housekeeping things, and I saw on the agenda too that a lot of those items were housekeeping items, and every year, you have to go through and review your policies and all this good stuff, but the strategic plan was different as an agenda item from the other policy reviews, and I was reading the strategic plan was about graduation and I don't remember what the mission statement was exactly, but.
Right. And what we're doing with the strategic plan is, what we want you to understand is that it's a working document.
Mm-hmm.
It's always able to be changed. So a couple years ago in 17-18, we had Randy Royer from the Associated School Boards come down and give a workshop to the board members on strategic planning and what it might look like. And so this is the format that the board chose. We looked at some from different school districts, knowing that we could, and then what we do, and when Linnea Wright was on the board, she gave us the idea of every month we review a different category in the strategic plan to see how we are doing. And we want to make it measurable, and some of those on there are a little bit difficult to do with that, such as school climate, that kind of thing. So
right.
Right now with this one, our school report card will come out at the end of September, and then we're going to update that section and review it again with the board. So it'll probably be back on there first part of October as we get those numbers. But we review a different section each month at the first meeting of the board, and the strategic plan is a living, working document that always keeps changing, and it drives the direction of our school district.
So what will be the next review or the next portion?
I think it is the school climate one. I kind of glanced at it last night. I believe that's the next one. So the principals will help me out with that one. And we can do some surveys this year to see how things have improved and where people think they're at with that.
And then school climate is more like kind of how kids feel when they come here, the culture, so
right, the school culture, right, how kids feel, how staff feel, those kinds of things.
Sure. How do you measure that, just with the surveys?
Yeah, it's really hard to measure, because you can have an event happen and it can just kind of change the course of where things are at for a while, and then, but what we always want to remind ourselves of is we're welcoming. We want kids to have a place to belong, and we want them to believe in themselves. So with those things, we go forward.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And we'll go forward also. First day of school is almost here. It'll be here on Wednesday, the 21st. So obviously this is going to be a big day for parents and for students alike and other people that may have something to do with the district. So I can imagine you're going to have a lot of phone calls and a lot of people with questions.
Well, I don't get a lot, but the buildings probably do. Yeah, the principals do, and the administrative assistants, teachers, right. And hopefully we're well equipped to answer those questions. If not, we'll find somewhere to get the answer.
Sure. So let's, hypothetically say I'm a parent and I want to get more information. Where would you prefer these people to call to kind of streamline things and make it more efficient for them and for the administration?
To the school that their child goes to, if it's about that school. If it's a district question, they could call me, but I most likely would have to refer them to their building principal or administrative assistant to start with and go from there. And my school reach call is going to go out tonight, or by the time this is aired, it will have gone out, and giving that direction to people. Go ahead and call the schools if you have questions. They're more than willing to answer, and they most likely will have the information needed.
Awesome. And then maybe some more general avenues. I know you have the Facebook page, Cub Nation. So there's that one. And
we have Twitter.
Okay.
So we have a Twitter account, Cub Nation. We do those. We have the school messenger account. We put things in the newspaper. We sent out some postcards about some specific things. For example, the 6th grade session when they're going to be having their orientation, a postcard was sent out to those students. The busing for freshmen, first-year students only, we send postcards out to those families who might be involved in that. So we try to get our information out in different ways.
Okay. And then as always, there's the administration's website, right?
Yep, and then we have our school district website.
Okay, and then from there you can also go to the different, the high school, the middle school. Their websites kind of branch off of your website.
Right.
And that will be, again, in the link down below. So
great.
if you need to find it, there it will be.
Yep.
And that's really all I have. Do you have anything else to add before we conclude for the week?
No, I don't think so. We just want to welcome everyone to the open house and be sure that people are here. All right.
Great.
Thank
so,
you.
well, best of luck for the first day of school. I mean, I'd say best of luck. I know you guys got it all under control, but it's just a good thing to say.
It's really not about luck. It's about planning.
That's right. You make your own luck.
Right.
Awesome. So, thanks, Dr. Johnson.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Cool. Well, we'll do it live. So, Trisha Burke, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Tell me about yourself. Give me the 5-minute Trisha Burke spiel.
Okay. 5-minute Trisha Burke's.
Not 5 minutes. Let's go a minute.
Okay. So I am a native of Chamberlain, South Dakota. Born here. Trisha Geddes, and my mother and father, Ed and Dee Geddes. And I don't know, I was raised here primarily. We moved to California for a little bit, moved back when I was 8.
Okay, which part of California?
Southern California.
Sweet. Well, the weather was nice.
Yes, and I loved the desert as a little girl, so moving here was kind of traumatic. And
Oh, moving back?
yeah, I was
Really?
8, and I just really didn't love it, but I grew on me, obviously. And then, I had your typical childhood. I just ran, played, biked all over this city, between the cities, and Oklahoma and Chamberlain, and had a great childhood here. And I went to high school at Chamberlain, and involved in lots of athletics and in band, choir, everything. And I think
Awesome.
that's the beauty of going to school here.
So what years were you in high school in Chamberlain?
81 to 85.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was kind of right before the internet, I suppose. Close. It was right on the edge, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I got I had a computer class at USD, where I learned codes, codes, which I was terrible at. And then I went, I went to school here, and then I went to SDSU for a year.
Okay.
And decided to go be a yote. And then in the summers, I'd go be a jackrabbit. So I kind of feel like I have allegiance to both.
There you go.
And because I had a lot of credits from each. And graduated and went to Up With People for a year, which I traveled to 7 countries and 25 of the United States during that year.
Oh, okay. So what is Up With People then?
It is a non-profit, basically promoting peace and promoting people living together, and then showing that cultures can work together to create a really beautiful show. I mean, there's a show,
right,
and then there's service work as well as you travel, and you always stay in host families. And I had 88 host families in 1 year.
That's a lot. That's a lot of moving around.
It's called being flexible. So I think that was honestly for my education, that was probably the best education. I took the place of my 8th grade teacher, Phyllis Brunken.
And you started 8th grade teaching?
In 1991.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
What was the subject?
English.
Okay.
So I took over the plays, and then I took that job, and really I taught English for 8th grade for 4 or 5 years. Then I took a year off, tried to sell insurance, and I really hated that. I'm sorry if you sell insurance, but
not your thing. That's all.
Yeah, it was not my thing.
Okay, so you went into high school too.
Yeah.
Well, I know you did that. So
then I went back part-time when I was a mom. My kids were young, and I taught high school. And I went in 9th grade, and then I moved up to 10th grade, and then 11th and 12th is where I ended, and loved every year, every stage. And I think I loved that I had taught the whole gamut.
Sure.
Because it really gave me an overall view of what I thought kids needed, and and I enjoyed, growing with them.
Let's go back to high school. Trisha Burke in Chamberlain. I know you said you were involved in the arts and sports and everything, but let's back it up to the very beginning. Student Trisha Burke. Let's start from square one. Classes. Where are you into as far as classes?
Okay.
That's tough for a teenager to say they like classes, but everyone kind of had that one.
I was the nerd because I love school.
Okay.
I couldn't wait to be at school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because I wanted to be a teacher from when I was little. I mean, all the way up, I wanted to be a teacher. So, I loved English.
Sure.
Class.
I hope
really
so.
did. I loved it. I had some awesome teachers who really fostered that. Kathy King was one of my all-time favorite English teachers, and she really just taught me to love it.
Mm-hmm.
And Phyllis Brunken, whom I replaced, so that she just taught me to love literature. And so I was into that, and I liked. I did not love math. but that's just the way that
That's the way that one goes,
Did not
yep.
love it, and I love band. I love choir. So that was me.
Sure.
That was it.
How about extracurriculars? Band and choir, we got those two.
Band and choir.
You were an athlete as well, right?
Yes, I was. I don't think people think that, but I was a fairly good athlete. I loved basketball. I played basketball from the time I was little, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I swept off my court in front of my grandma's house. Every day I played with my neighbor, Rob Brown, or Travis Vaught, and Tracy. We just played ball all the time.
Who got you into basketball?
I just think, my grandma had a hoop.
Yep.
And I picked up a ball. So I just
It was
think
just the
was
thing
me.
that was there?
Yeah, and I think Rob Brown and I played, they had a gas station, and the hoop was right on the side of the gas station, and we just played. And so I played basketball. If I could have played football, I would have played football.
All right, on.
Because I loved that game. I played flag football in middle school. So I love that, and I was a real football fan, and then I was a runner.
Okay.
I tried gymnastics, which was a fail.
No, you still tried it.
I tried it, and I did that just because my PE coach. Oh, by the way, I loved PE.
Okay.
So I have to say, I loved PE.
There you go.
And I tried cheerleading, and I was terrible. I just couldn't do it. I did that a year. But you know what? I loved to run, and I loved to play basketball, and so those were my sports.
I can't say I've ever seen you do a layup in my life, but I see you running quite often, or at least I used to. I live up elsewhere now, but that's still something you keep up with, yeah?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm trying to recently get back into it. I've had kind of some health issues that kind of slowed me down, but now I'm running again. I would love, everybody says it, but I really would like to run a marathon someday. I think a lot of people say it, but I've always wanted to. My goal, and you won't know this person, but my goal was to be an Olympic runner, like Mary Decker Tab.
Let's talk about some pop culture. What was, I'd say what's on your iPod, but what's in your tapes in the 80s?
The Cars.
Okay.
The Cars, Bruce Springsteen, R.E.M., or that was maybe the later 80s. But in high school, the Cars, I like Journey, and I like Styx. I love Styx.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely love Styx. Joan
Jett?
Joan Jett, but Pat Benatar is another one of my favorite. And ABBA.
ABBA was huge.
ABBA,
I always forget
whichever way you
about
want to say it.
ABBA.
I love them.
Really?
And, Donna Summer. And I was really into, goodness sakes, Michael Jackson's mentor. What was her name? Wow. Goodness, I'm sorry.
I know actually who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't think about it.
Diana Ross.
There you go. What was the other big, since the movie just came out, what was the popularity of Queen in America?
Queen?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Queen too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very popular.
Was it?
Very,
Yeah.
very popular. We Will Rock You.
That just came out?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
That was big then. Eye of the Tiger. That was huge. We loved playing that in pep band. I think they still play that in pep band. Eye of the Tiger
do.
from...
I'm pretty sure.
So we had Sylvester Stallone, he was the big guy. And I was sort of into Snoopy collectibles. That was huge for me. And Gumby. And Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill. Those are Saturday Night Live.
That guy?
Yeah. Love Mr. Bill. Coneheads. So that was like things I love to watch.
Sure. What about in Chamberlain? What do you do? What do you do before the internet?
Well, I had a Buick that fit 8 people.
Booyah.
So
You had a boat.
That was awesome, a boat.
There you go.
And my friend Kelly Potter had a same car.
Mm-hmm.
So we could go around with, 16 of us if we wanted. But basically, we drove around. We listened to tapes.
Mm-hmm.
I first was a 8-track, and then I did get a cassette player, so that was big.
Driving around is the thread that holds every single person I've talked to together.
That's all we did.
That is the Midwest answer to a T.
Yeah, and then we parked in the Catholic Church parking lot and talked, and that was it. There was no McDonald's.
You made the choice to move back. What were some of the factors in that?
Okay. Well, I had come home in the middle of the winter.
From California?
No, from Up With People.
Oh, okay.
And I needed a job, so that was huge. So I started subbing, and I enjoyed, subbing, and I enjoyed getting to know my teachers on a new level. It was very weird. They were all my teachers, So I kind of just kept thinking about it. I was applying for jobs all over, and then I, met my husband. I already knew him, but I started reacquainting with Brian and just had a lot of fun. And Jeff Bowie, we had a lot of good friends that were just fun and silly.
Sure.
And Donna and Susie Giesler, and I just kind of thought, well, I can travel. 1 year, what's 1 year? I can see where things go. And so I signed a contract really early in April.
Okay.
I had a few job offers after, and then my mom was on the school board, and I'd always wanted to be a city girl, and so that was hard choice because I had one from Omaha, an offer down there, and one in Sioux Falls, and then I just said, well, I guess I'll try out this town to see where my love life leads.
Sure.
So, and you know what? It was very comfortable, and it was comforting to be in a place that people cared about me,
Right.
And I thought I have some things to contribute, and maybe it'll be great. So it's worked out.
Yeah.
It really wasn't supposed to be. I wasn't planning on it from a child or anything, but one of my friends just said, you can travel anywhere from here. And she was right.
True.
And so I've kept on traveling with my, that's important to me. And I've done that with my kids because I think travel keeps us all connected. And
it's easy to put yourself in a box.
Yes. If you're just here, and I'm not criticizing people, but it's just helpful, and it made my life much richer.
What advice would you have maybe for someone that is, they were in young Trisha Burke's shoes where she was deciding what to do, and I mean, this might not have been your first choice, but it was on the plate. Mm-hmm. I guess, is there any advice to people that you would have?
About living here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it, is that here we don't know how lucky we are to have, again, the support network. I was so lucky as a young mother to have my mother-in-law, my mother, and my aunts and uncles to be able to just lean on. It's a beautiful thing to have that. We live right next to the most pristine river in America. I mean, it's beautiful, and I walk every morning by the river, and I just think how lucky I am to have this time or this space that's uninterrupted. I mean, you can just be there in a second, right? And you just can we have so much freedom. Living in a city where you have a beautiful river, it's most of the time you don't swim in them.
Or it's commercialized. You got barges and
this is a quiet, beautiful life. I mean, your children have ability to play, and you just have a lot of I hate to say control, because I don't view myself as a helicopter mom, right? But I think you do have a little more control over things with your kids. You can really bond with them more, and you know what's going on.
It's a little more low risk, I
exactly.
guess. You can just get on a bus anywhere in the city and
and you don't know.
Right. Yeah. So, and it helps with that social media we were talking about.
And then I just advise travel. I mean, just make yourself go places, so you can fix that little bug of boredom.
And then finally, the last thing we were talking about students before, and then what you saw as a teacher, and then now, maybe just more of the actual social life, or kind of the general consensus of how the different ages relate, some of the similarities they may have, some of the differences.
Well, I think the hardest part is that we do have a small town, that there are limited things to do. It's the same issue. The kids don't have much to do.
Sure.
And so what are they going to do? And
Right.
we know that we have problems with alcohol and, drugs and different things like that. So I honestly see that similarity. I mean, I knew of a lot of people in my era that was going on, and it still goes on today because there's just nothing for them. And so I view that as a real detriment in our community. I feel like we still need to foster and find ways to help promote things that kids can do and where they can be together,
right,
and just have fun. And it's hard because we're all so busy that I think we parents forget we could help with that more. But I see that as the negative. As the positive, I see kids on the river, using boat. They are out on boats. That's what we used to do too. I mean, I was a river rat, loved to water ski. Now they're kneeboarding, and and I think if we could get, I see that too. I see golf. I see lots of great things that we have available, and I just think those are commonalities. Yeah, the river is a huge commonality. Beach bum. Our pool is great. I think our
that is awesome.
Our pool was always the center of social life, being social.
Yeah.
And now I like that it's even more teenagers go to the pool. So I see a lot of kids working more, and I think that is because we're working to pay for college.
Sure.
And so because of that, participation in some of the extracurricular activities are kind of low.
Right.
And that's too bad. I mean, it's too bad for our educational system that it is the way it is, but I don't really see that changing.
Sure.
And the only thing that I think for parents to remember and or kids is be a kid. Take some time to enjoy and find some niches in school where you might actually find an interest in a career that you never knew was out there.
Right.
Yeah. So
Good,
I think that's important.
Cool. Well, Trisha, I've taken up a little bit longer of your time than I thought we would, but
Okay. Well, thank you. This was fun.
yeah, it's a good time. Thanks for stopping by. Well, thanks for inviting me, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks again for joining us for another edition of the Monday News Brief, brought to you by CDTTV, a part of the Central Dakota Times. If you like this content and want to see more, we're available on YouTube by searching Central Dakota Times Newspaper, on Facebook by searching Central Dakota Times, and at our brand new website, www.centraldakotatimes.org. We'd love to have you join our online community and become a YouTube subscriber as well. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday.